People fleeing Afghanistan in the midst of the Taliban takeover arrived in the U.S. this week, suitcases full of belongings gathered in a rush.
Getting refugees out of Afghanistan is just the first step. Refugee organizations and church groups are helping to get them settled and find housing. Airbnb.
My job is really to support and work with high schools across the district to in their programming for English language learners, so their ELD courses, English language development, and then also focusing on content classes outside of ELD classes where students are learning content and also still learning the language. So working with teachers on sheltering practices in their instructional practice so that students can access the content while also still learning the language. And so the language shouldn't be a barrier for students accessing the content. We have students who are newcomers, brand new to the country, who are at the very early stages of language acquisition. And so for them, you can only imagine how challenging it is to be in a new country, a new school, learning a brand new language, and then learning grade level content. We offer 4 different levels of English language development. And so that's a big chunk of my job. Additionally, I facilitate professional learning sessions at the ESC for teachers across the district to come and engage in and again continue to learn about sheltering practices. So when a student enrolls in Adams12, no matter who the student is, they fill out a home language survey. And this home language survey asks questions like, what was when your child started talking, what was the language that they used? What language do they speak and understand? Have they ever received education in another country or in another language? And so no matter who the student is, they fill out that survey. Based on how that survey is answered and what languages are indicated and provided, if we see that there's an influence of another language other than English for the students, then students are entered into our system with kind of a label called, or a flag is in question, so we say they're in question. And so it doesn't mean that they necessarily will receive ELD services, it just means we want to test and make sure to see if they need the services. Because again, the services it's not a negative, it's not a deficit, it's not something they're being punished for. It's really about making sure that they are getting what they are entitled to and what they need. So students are in question, and then they are administered a language test. In high school, we use the WIDA screener. It tests their language in reading, writing, listening, and speaking. And so depending on how the students score on that test determines whether or not they are in an English language development course. And then depending on what that score is, if they are in the program, there's different levels that they would be in. So entering ELD is where you'll find like our newcomer students who are new to the country. And then the next level up is emerging, followed by developing, and then expanding. So those are the 4 English language development courses we offer. Tutoring, so it's interesting to hear about math because I think math is challenging in general. At the district level, we are piloting a newcomer math class in 2 schools right now to see what that looks like and how we can try to bridge the gap between math that students are coming in with and the math that they need to be ready to be successful in our high school experience. And so for tutoring opportunities like that for you guys, oftentimes students just need support in knowing the right words to say and making sure they have some clarity around those major concepts they're learning. I think if any of you speak another language, that's also a benefit too, because there's evidence that we know that processing things in your first language is only going to be helpful and beneficial. And so if students can kind of process in their first language and then produce in their second language, sometimes they're better able to demonstrate what they know. And then I think it's just, making connections when you can. I don't know that everyone needs to know like everything that I've said today and like programming and stuff, but at the end of the day, like they're kids just like you guys. And so how would, you want someone to approach you and just introduce themselves or say hi, or how do you connect with people? I don't know if there's opportunities for, I know Mountain Range does a ton of stuff here. I just don't know if there's opportunities for like community nights or the different opportunities that, families can come together and like share. It's weird with COVID, but like share food from their culture, or just like a big potluck. I don't know what it's like to move to another country, right? But anytime I go somewhere new, even if it's a new job or I move states or whatever it is, when you're the new person, that can be really hard sometimes. And especially when we think about like newcomers, everything's brand new to them. And school might look very different from what they're used to in their home country. And so just an effort to connect with them, make them feel included, include them in what's going on, make sure they have access to different like clubs and know about sports and how to get involved in anything that they might be interested in, I think is a really important first step, just because we talk about lowering the affective filter a lot, so making people feel comfortable, making people feel welcome. If you're nervous, if you're scared, if you don't know who to talk to, it's going to be a lot harder to not only learn the language, but also learn in your classes, right? And so as students, if you guys can make connections or just check in, I think that's one way and one thing that is an easy step to take to support your fellow students. Ultimately, it's just like getting to know people, being a nice, kind human.